Congressman. He was kind enough to invite my wife and I to D.C. this past February for the National Day of Prayer, which was a great opportunity to share. He has spoken to a lot of your pastors here in the community and the efforts that we're trying to achieve here. One of the things that I can say about your congressman is that he is a family man. He is a man of God. Obviously, we all see things the same way. Amen? Amen. Y'all say amen? Amen. Now look, I'm going to tell y'all something right now. My folk know how I act. All these educators, I use all that bad English, didn't I? How I act and all. My mom's not here today, so if she was here, she would be cringing in the seat if she heard her son using the English that he's using. But we're all God's people. Amen? Amen. I've told many before, there's no line in heaven. Right. There's no line for Methodists. There's no line for Catholics. There's no line for Baptists. There's no line for Church of God in Christ. It's just one line. And you got to know Jesus to get it. Look at somebody say, I know Jesus. But if there was ever a time in our country where we're going to need all men and women to come together to do the work God has called us to do, we have to learn to work together. Amen? Amen. At this time, I'm going to ask Congressman Yoder to come and say a few words to us. If he slips down the steps, don't worry, because he's headed to his church. Amen? The Church of the Resurrection out there with Adam Hamilton. He's going to take 35 down the highway. He won't exceed the speed limit, and you won't have anybody give you a ticket. Amen? Amen. Come on, Congressman.
Thank you, Pastor Rowan, and thank you to all the members here at the First Baptist Church, one of the most historic and long-standing, wonderful churches in our community. It's an honor to be back again. And I say, Pastor Rowan, if I do get that ticket, if I'm in Wyandotte County still, I know a judge who might be able to help me. Amen?
I didn't hear that.
It's nice to be here with all of you, and certainly with the judge and with Dr. Lane and many others talking about education this morning. And I want to, first and foremost, express my thanks and encouragement for this 4th anniversary of Back to Education, Back to School. I guess school starts tomorrow morning for a lot of folks, and so we were talking about how the summer goes by so quickly. School's upon us, and I want to offer my encouragement and support and my prayers for the students and the teachers and the superintendents and everyone, and the parents and the families who make education such an important virtue here in our community. And we know education, no matter where you're from, whatever your background, education is the great opportunity for everyone in this country. It's what makes America so great. And so I'm here to join in support of what you're doing this morning, and to encourage and pray and sing and laugh with everyone here at this great church. But I also want to take a moment, because like Pastor Rowan, I was heartbroken, like many of you who watched the scenes on television yesterday, and to see in Virginia the ugly side of America come back to haunt us. We know that we're the greatest nation in the world, but we also have stains on that history. We have stains on that history. Racism, bigotry, slavery, and that evilness that is part of our fabric. We've worked a long time, and we're still on that journey to try to overcome that.
Amen.
And that we can't overcome that if we're not unified, if we're not standing together holding hands. And so I'm here this morning to speak directly and clearly that racism, bigotry, white supremacy has no place in the United States of America. And we need all of our leaders to speak out on this. From the President to the Congress, to the Senate, we all have to speak together. We cannot equivocate. Because if we coddle, if we equivocate, if we turn the other way, if we ignore, if we give oxygen, if we give lifeblood to this racism, it will come back up stronger than ever before. And so we have to be vigilant. We have to be unified. And so more than anything, I wanted to come this morning. I'd already been invited to come and talk about education, and that is so critical because we're talking about the future. We're talking about education. We're talking about hope and optimism. But we also have to be mindful of the past is ever present. It may not be fully past, because we know racism persists in our society today. We know discrimination exists. We know that exists. So we all work every day to try to figure out ways to change that, to fix that, to improve upon that. But one of the things in education is we can't forget the journey we've come on to get here. Because as soon as we forget history, we're doomed to repeat it. Right? And so here we are in 2017, looking like, as Pastor Rowan said, the 50s or the 60s. I had a chance about a year and a half ago to walk with my good friend John Lewis in Selma. They invited the members of Congress to come. I'd never been to Alabama. I'd certainly never been to Selma, Alabama. I'd never been to the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And so I joined a number of my friends, Republicans and Democrats. And we all joined arms. And we walked across that bridge. Just like 50 years before then, people joined arms. Martin Luther King and John Lewis and civil rights leaders locked arms. And at one point you may say, well, why are we having to do this again 50 years later? That was a long time ago. But things like yesterday remind you that we have to keep walking on that bridge. We have to keep reminding people where we've come from. And keep reminding people that we're in this together. And this is not about one race or another. This is about America standing together, unified against racism. This is about us standing together, unified against bigotry, discrimination. And so I'm here today to give voice to that as your member of Congress, and to know that I'm speaking out, even if not everyone does speak out. I want you to know that I'm speaking out. I'm speaking out against those who don't speak out. All right? So I want to ask the Lord for some things this morning, as we do every Sunday. And Pastor Rowan, since I'm going to my home church after this, do I get extra credit for going to 2 services? That's an education question. So he gets some extra credit for teaching. I want to ask the Lord for wisdom for our country, for us, so that we know right from wrong, and we call it as we see it. I want us to pray for courage to stand up for our beliefs, and to speak out against those who wish to turn our nation backwards. I pray for unity, Lord, that our country may come together as one. I pray for healing, Lord, that our nation might heal its wounds. Heal us, Lord. I pray for strength, that we might have the strength to overcome the barriers erected by centuries of bigotry. And Lord, more than anything, I pray for peace. Peace in our hearts. Peace in our nation. That we may turn from violence and towards hope and love and light. As the Gospels in John said, but the one who hates his brother is in the darkness and does not know where he is going, because the darkness has blinded his eyes. We must speak out against this hate that we saw in Virginia yesterday. I want to close with a quote from Nelson Mandela that our 44th President Barack Obama reminded us of yesterday. He tweeted this out, and I think it was a particularly poignant statement to give our focus to education in the young minds that are with us today. Nelson Mandela once said, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and they can be taught to hate. And if they can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite." So Pastor Rowan, may God bless the students here today as they go back to school. May God teach them the wisdom and courage and strength that we all need. May God teach all young Americans the virtue of love. May God bless my friends at the First Baptist Church. May God bless Pastor Rowan. And may God bless the United States of America.
Church, say amen. Now that you gathered here, you got the song ready, Donovan? All right. Let's get up on our feet. Let's greet each other with a warm smile and embrace. Shake each other's hand. Amen? Come on, Donovan. Don't put me on the spot. Bring it up loud. Get around and shake someone's hand.
Yeah, Levita now. Yeah, they down in Parkwood.
That's what you talked about already.
Yeah.
I see Jackie sometimes. Oh, yeah? Yeah, we're sorority sisters. Oh. We see each other at this. She works, I've been in her store out there. Oh. I see Jason too, because his daddy owns the Peppermint Nursery.
Fine young man in school, doing good, and he works, got money. Yeah, double cup. Look, that's Robert. She claims that that's just Robert right there. I got you. Everybody's reviewing free. What's your name?
this morning. We're honored to have with us this morning First Baptist summer class of 1962. And they will be making a special presentation here this morning as well. Also, in addition to that, we have the distinguished Dr. Lane and many of the principals and administrators from our school district here this morning. And I'm asking Dr. Lane to come and say a few words, introduce everyone, our staff. We have our Gateway High Stepper drill team, Ms. Davis and son. Amen. Let's give a hand to our Gateway High Steppers. Come on, guys. If you're ever in need of some type of aerobic workout, come join these young folk on Monday or Tuesday. And I guarantee you'll drop 10 pounds. And if they too fast for you, hang around for the ladies' exercise dance class. And you'll be healthy leaving First Baptist Church. Amen. And I will be the first to tell you, I can't do either. I can't do what they do. I sure can't do what the ladies are doing downstairs. Imagine how I thought I was a great dancer when I was younger. We're so glad to have them. They just recently went back and competed for their first place trophy they won last year. Unfortunately, they missed the mark. But Sister Davis and son, they have done a fantastic job with all our young people. You would be amazed at the number of graduates from our school system here who have come through this group. And went on to our distinguished universities in the state of Kansas, in which I added as many as I could fit on the program. I put Wichita State first. Out of respect for our graduates from Wichita State, then the distinguished university in Lawrence, to the honorable mention in Manhattan, and then to this school in which Michael and Deacon Dozier and my mother mentioned to me, Pittsburgh State University. Amen. Let's give it a hand. With that being said, Dr. Lane, let's give her a great big hand because she has been doing a fantastic job. Come on. We have to stand right here and give this lady the applause. She is beautiful for what she does for this community.
The applause goes to this community for surrounding our young people with responsible and caring adults. So it's an honor to be here. It's always an honor to be here to see one of the graduating classes from what is still the best high school in the nation. And of course for our youth, who I know performed well yesterday out here at the back to school parade. Will we get a sample of that today? Oh no, I see their eyes getting big. So to all of you, grateful Pastor Rowland for being here, and can't wait to hear from Pastor Judge Tim Dupree, a product of this community, and I believe it's Schlegel brother. Just a little bit of pride in this community. And grateful to look out and see so many members of the team that I have such an honor to work with each and every day, including our Board of Education. Would the board please stand so we can thank you for being present today. And all those who are on the team of Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, would you please stand so we can thank you for your service to our children. Continuation of not only this service, being the 4th annual Back to School Education Service, but for your work around our bond referendum. This church got behind that referendum and is key in the reason that passed with 79% approval, $235 million no tax increase for our young people. share a few accomplishments with the church this morning, but in light of what happened yesterday, if you don't mind, Pastor, I just want to extend my remarks a little bit into that. You know, I saw yesterday on the news a 6-year-old boy ask his father, "Are we watching history, Daddy?" And that father had to say, "Unfortunately, we are not." But we uniquely qualify here in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, to speak to this issue. This place, where in 1844, the first free public school was built, serving white and Native American youth, 17 years before we became a state. This place, where in 1886 the communities of Wyandotte, Kansas City, Armourdale, Armstrong, and Riverview came together to form the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. This place, where in 1906, out of a tragedy, a fight between a black man and a white man separated us. You're right, Pastor. A law was passed and a school was built specifically to segregate children of color from white children. But out of that shadow, this community, working with the staff, turned that tragedy into one of the premier high schools in the nation, a legacy that continues today. This place is a model that divisiveness is not who we are.
Amen.
In fact, this community, diversity is our strength. It is who we are.
Amen.
Today in your schools, we have nearly 70 different languages spoken in the homes of our students. 22,500 kids who come from this community and all over the world to have their children educated here together. Diversity every day. We are the world, and we have an opportunity to model for our children what it means to embrace each other, to communicate with each other, and to stand up against bigotry and hate. That is not who we are. Not in KCK, not in Wyandotte County, not this community. So to the young people here today, I want to remind you, there'll be many causes for you to take a stand on, but none more important than standing up for each other. Who you are, be proud of who you are. Be proud. And be sure that every day you realize that that education that you're receiving will open doors to your futures. Do not let anyone close the door to who you want to become.
Amen.
So this place, where last year 94% of our schools met their goals. 85% of our 4-year-olds walk into kindergarten grade. 125 of our graduates walked across the stage not only with their high school diploma, but an industry-recognized credential. 425 of our students last year completed nearly 4,000 hours in college credit while in high school. And 53% of our students who graduated, they walked across the stage with their high school diploma, but 53% of those graduates graduated with more than their high school diploma, diploma plus, a year of college, an industry-recognized credential, full admittance into the military, industry-supported experiences. Our kids understand that a high school diploma is not enough, and this community and this church is helping to ensure that they have successful futures. This place, where last year 531 students, when they graduated, had secured more than $80 million in college scholarships. We are grateful to be here with you, too. Thank the Lord for blessing us, to sending powerful messages that what we do every day in the school system in this community is critical to the lives of our children. And based on the experiences of yesterday, we have the opportunity to model for our country and our state and the world who we are in Wyandotte County. Diversity is our strength, it is who we are, and we will celebrate and lift that up each and every day. So thank you for standing.
Outstanding, and each of you should be so proud of this educational system in Wyandotte County. My mother is a product of Sumner High School, class of 1950. So So that's why she cringes when I don't use good English. I do want to recognize others who may be visiting with us this morning. If you're visiting with First Baptist, you may be with the drill team. Members of my fraternity are here this morning to share with us as well. Being a Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, so glad to have you here this morning as well. Gentlemen, you want to wave your hand and say who you are? All right. I thought y'all do a better job than that. Y'all just Amen. Others are making their way in. I'm so honored this morning to have Sister Karen French come. This is Educational Sunday, so it needs to be inspirational. Amen? Amen. And the words that we bring to you this morning are from individuals in our community who can inspire our young people to excel. If there's one thing I've learned coming from a family of educators is you never get too old to learn. And education unlocks the key to so much in life. He'll speak from right here, Brother Dozier. So we want to thank you for being here. Sister French will give us a brief introduction of our little inspirational word this morning as we continue our morning worship. Amen? Amen? I do want to say something publicly to the First Baptist Church at this time that I do not want to forget to do this morning on such a great Sunday. Sad news, First Baptist Church, that I received a call just earlier prior to the start of our morning worship that Sister Marilyn White passed and went home to be with the Lord about 12:30 or anywhere between 12:30 and 1 o'clock this morning. She just lost her sister. As you know, services for Sister Douglas will be this Tuesday at 9 a.m. Visitation in the service, homeborn service will be 11 at the First Baptist Church of Quindaro. So let's keep Sister White's family in prayer, and more information regarding her services will be forthcoming. I would just suggest to us First Baptist that we may keep Saturday available, as the family will be meeting tomorrow to begin planning a homeborn service. Amen? Amen. Amen. Sister White has been a fixture at this church for 50 plus years. Long distinguished career at KU and others. So we want to keep that family in prayer. Amen? Amen. 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 You all will have to go through what her family's going through. Amen? Amen. God didn't give us a body that lasts forever. But we need to honor and respect and do well. Sister French.
Good morning. Good morning. First Baptist members, teachers, superintendent, friends, youth, our youth. I love our children. I just want to share a few numbers with you, and then I'm going to introduce someone that I met recently. According to the Mid-American Regional Council, there are 538,652 children, that's age 19 and younger, in our Kansas City metropolitan area. That's 9 counties. 28% of our regional population. We need to love our children. Now, our children has reached a 5-year high as far as those that are in foster care, homeless, hungry, at-risk, single-parent households, and teen parents. This demonstrates the increasing need for preventive and corrective measures to address drug abuse, alcohol, tobacco use, mental health problems, poverty, and low self-esteem. All of those are factors that put our children at risk and for violence. And this impacts on their ability to be engaged in active learning and obtaining higher quality education. On July the 31st of this year, I attended a professional development conference in education. It was then that I realized God connects his disciples, those that have divine assignments, Amen. Those that don't work hard to fit in, but when they are called to be set apart. Anthony Butler fits that category. He was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and raised at 12th and Vine. He was educated in the Kansas City public schools and graduated with honors from the University of Missouri in Kansas City. He taught for 18 years in the Kansas City public schools. But in 2013, he decided, I have a calling. And that calling was to start his own company called VIP. Now, that's a company that confronts the underlying reasons for violence in unique ways. He works in schools, within school districts, churches, youth organizations, and corporations. He has earned credibility with teens, youth, and adults. He and his wife lead a weekly Sunday school class on marriage and family, and it's called Becoming One. So, without any further ado, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Anthony J. Butler. He considers it an honor and a joy to use his God-given talents to inspire people. Amen. Mr. Butler.
Amen. This is an honor. First time in First Baptist. God bless you all. Much honor and recognition to this great church and history within it. This is going to be poetic. And may I sit this here? Sure. And as a poet and a teacher, VIP is an acronym that stands for Violence I Prevent. And oftentimes I get the concept of how can we stop violence? And I put the emphasis on the I, the violence I prevent. One day it just began. It started with plenty of thoughts, replaying again and again and again. This led to a sea, an ocean of emotions that finally spoke the call of a culture that rarely says nope, has you trapped by the throat in a tight chokehold of pain until it floods your futures with actions that are just plain insane. What are you watching? Who are you listening to? Be careful who you run with because they affect the one and only you. What are you wearing? Why are you rocking those shoes? When did the number one settle for number two? Think about it for a minute. Oftentimes when I talk and when I go into a school and I work with 3-year-olds on up, and when we say, what do you want to be when you grow up? They will just shout out, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a beautician. A few years later, I see them in elementary school, and less hands continue to go up. A few years later, I see them in middle school and then high school. And I said, when did the number one settle for number two? Here's my target, right off the bat. 2 things. It's very difficult to light a fire in someone who refuses to be lit. Don't want to stand, so we sit. Don't want to finish, so we quit. We got bars, but we refuse to spit. It's very difficult to light a fire in someone who refuses to be lit. Goal number 1 is I want to light a fire. When we are so lit up from the inside out, our dreams will drive our decisions. Our dreams will push us in such a capacity that I'm going to let go of the violence. I'm going to let go of the mentality that I'm going to do something to hurt somebody. First murder in the Bible happened in the home. Cain and Abel. Mismanaged hurt and pain. So when we talk about how do we defeat violence, right off the bat we got to understand where it comes from. Mismanaged hurt and pain sets the umbrella for all forms of violence. Domestic violence, community violence, gang violence, retaliations, frustrations. You hurt my boy, I'm going to hurt yours. You hurt my girl, I'm going to hurt yours. When we don't manage our hurt, we have the tendency to take it out on ourselves and other people. Fact check me on Genesis 4, I'm telling the truth. When Cain didn't manage the fact of the rejection, and God was so gracious that he went to him and said, if you keep doing wrong, sin is knocking at your door. He loves us so much that he's speaking to us. Can't you see I'm hurting? I'm flirting with disaster. Master, can you see me? Hidden behind this mask, I got to ask, can you see me? Regretting my past, putting my business on blast until I blow up more opportunities just between you and me. I'm hurting. Tired of taking my pain out on other people. Secrets will keep me bound, enslaved, stuck and stained, so I remain hurt. Hidden behind a different mask, daily hurt. Waiting for this costume party to end, maybe. Just maybe. Today is my unveiling. There's no telling what you'll see when I rip off this mask. Now showing me. Now trending me. Now living free. In order to be free, we have to acknowledge the fact that I'm hurting. And one of the most difficult things that I am tasked with, whether I'm doing a staff development, I just did a staff development in Lawrence, Kansas, and I'll be back there tomorrow. Breakout sessions on their first day back. What's on my plate? And I had seasoned educators, just like I was, who was afraid in a sense to say I need some help, that I'm hurting, that I have a lot going on, that I have to pour out so much. Oftentimes, educators, pastors, those in clergy, they're pouring out so much, and many times we don't step back and review ourselves, and the stats back it up. Many times, depressed. Mine is dealing with downness, downcast, because we pour out so much. And my goal is to help free of that pain. And this is how we do it. When I talk, and I still consider myself an educator no matter what. I go into the schools, do creative writing workshops, and I see people who reminded me of me growing up in the projects, one of 8 kids, mama on welfare, daddy missing in action. I was falling apart like fractions, searching for one whole person who didn't yell at me, doesn't curse, and I'm falling apart. Flamed by so-called friends, I was the punchline for their jokes, and I tried to make the most of each day. But for real, y'all, I wasn't doing okay. Can't you see I'm screaming? I'm steaming from a broken dream, and I need help without saying words. Help. That one you must have heard. Help that I kept in the inner me. I doubt that I can be a winner, so I settle for a sinner, see? Pay attention. I intentionally do risky things to bring your eyes on me. So look beyond my drama, my persona, my deadbeat daddy, and my busy mama. So look beyond my clothes, my pierced nose, my toes that are covered in expensive dough. I laugh for show, but when you go, my tears just flow. Look closely, mostly at my actions. I'm asking you to help me rip off this mask and cape. Take me by the hand. Teach me how to be a godly man or a godly lady. Maybe I'll resist, but don't you ever give up on me, because I need this help. I started VIP in 2013 because so many of my students were screaming for help without saying words. The number one form of communication is nonverbal body language. We got to pick it up. Most people will not say, I need help. We got to watch them. We got to pay attention. We got to pay attention to the signs. So I helped them without saying words. And when they came to me and they said, Mr. Butler, can't you see I'm screaming? They didn't voice one word. I saw it. And I caught it. And I intervened. And I helped. The violence I prevent movement is simply about the individual taking ownership and saying, I'm going to stop violence in my own life. And as a result of that, I'm going to duplicate myself. So if I can stop it in my own life, those in my sphere, those in my inner circle, those who run with me will by default, because I am stopping it in my own life, they're either going to be rose up and rise up higher with me, or I'm going to drop them. I'm going to cut them off. And I have to cut off some family. I love them, but I can't hang with them because they got a violent mentality. So I'm going to close with this. How do we do it? We have about 60,000 thoughts per day. We make about 30 to 35,000 decisions per day. 60,000 thoughts. We make about 30 to 35,000 decisions. We start in the mind. Every single day we got to have a renewed mind. Where the mind goes, the person follows. So if you walk through this door right now and your mind was stuck on anger, mind stuck on frustration, mind stuck on I don't like this person, mind got an inner mind that's got beef with somebody, there's so much conflict that fuels decisions that we got to change our mind. We got to change it. And as we change our mind, our words begin to change. I didn't make this up. Our actions, our habits, our character, and our dreams will drive our decisions, and our destiny, the destination of where we're going, will become so profound because I decided to repent and turn away from a wrong destination and walk where I'm supposed to be and what God called me to do. How many educators in the house? I'm going to close with a poetic dedication. Where are the educators at? You are one of those. Think about it. They say those who can't a lot, and I hated it. Those who can't teach. How many of you heard that before? I am too. So I got mad and I picked up my pen and pad and I started writing. You are one of those who chose this profession because you can't sit on the sidelines and shake your heads and rant about the ills of society and not offer healing. So you decided to confront the poverty, illiteracy, and all the senseless killing, using your schools and classrooms to cause unmistakable change, while those who can't do what you do keep saying the same things. Educators, teachers, you do more than teach. The ripple effect you have is hard to quantify. Bottom line, your reach stretches far beyond your classroom lands, far far beyond your outstretched hands, far beyond your schools. Your influence rules for generations to come because you are a teacher, preacher, part-time preacher, breeder, parent-teacher conference meter, fueling dreams heater, figuratively and literally waking up sleepers, underpaid, overworked, underappreciated. You overcome or find a way to free the hated testing. Lessons, blessings, cleaning up mess and you still smile. Often quasi-raising someone else's child while being disrespected, rejected, disgusted. Some days tempted to walk out the door, but you valiantly remember your core values and fly your wings and you soar. With the dawning of each new moment, each new day, you keep coming back for more. You soar. You constantly contemplate and genuinely grapple. Tackle tough issues, have numerous apples, planning long, righting wrongs, singing songs, going on and on and on and on and on, changing, teaching, reading, confronting our society's crisis with numbers and words that settle in your soul and bust out to the heart of our youth. Who knew? Walkthroughs, safe seats, classrooms, memorable safety drills in the heat of cold. Let's give you educators a standing O because. So you said 7:10, I'm going to go 5:7. Just make sure I'm in the window. Thank you all for that.
Not yet.
Good morning, First Baptist. Good morning. It's good to see you all. Pastor asked me to do an up-tempo song. This is what I came up with. If you know it, sing it with me. Tap down at the cross where my Savior died. Down where for cleansing from sin I cried. There to my heart was the blood applied, singing glory to His name. I'm singing glory to His name, precious name. Glory to His name. Oh, there to my heart was the blood applied, singing glory to His name. Verse 2. I am so wondrously saved from sin. Jesus, so sweetly abides within. There at the cross, where He took me in, singing glory to
the Sumner High School class of 1962 please stand? We're indebted to Pastor Rowan and First Baptist Church, and our class member, Morris Campbell, is our contact.
Good morning. Good morning. On behalf of the Sumner class of 1962, we would like to present you this check on behalf of you allowing us to use this facility for the last 4 years. This should be used towards the carpet.
That's how you tell a pastor what to do with the money. I got it. I heard you clearly. Thank you so much, class. It's summer of 1962. There's a great book out about Sumner. If you get it, you can read about the history of Sumner. And as Dr. Lane said, it has graduated some of the nation's most leading doctors and engineers and educators. So it is an awesome place. In addition to the receipt of this class of 62, thank you so kindly, First Baptist Church, we received a donation. We're undertaking an effort to replace our carpet here in our sanctuary along with the west wall. And I applaud the efforts of our trustees under the leadership of Brother Frank Thompson, who have been engaged in contractors, and we're to begin the project sometime in mid-September. But in addition to individual contributions from our membership, we had visitors here at First Baptist a couple of Sundays ago, and the gentlemen, David and Lisa Ricketts, whom I know, wrote a nice note. They said, Lisa and I would like to thank you and the entire congregations for such a warm and welcoming reception. We would like to add a few extra dollars to the carpet fund, and they gave us a $500 check. We need to be kind and nice, because we don't know who God will use in your life. Amen. God uses other folks to bless us. So we need to learn how to trust God. Amen. As our trustees may come now and make ready as we make ready to give, I have a special prayer in the messenger this morning for us to read at this time of tithes and offerings, if you will. And also, we want to recognize one of our members of this church since she's been alive, Sister Dozier, here to my left, your right, recently became Dr. Dozier. Amen. She received a doctorate in philosophy and education. Her pretty picture's out on the lobby foyer there, and she didn't wear that funny little hat doctors get to wear. But, we're so thankful for the work that she's done for this church, for work in our community. If you would, let us read together this special prayer for our tithes and offering. Follow along with me if you would. Ushers, come just for a second. If you're all there, say amen. Amen. Let us read together. Father of all mercies, we ask that you would bless the youngest and the littlest of learners, and the most helpless and the powerless of persons, with your infinite and loving mercy, granting them the strength to learn, concentrate, and act in love toward their teachers and fellow students. We also ask that you will watch over them at home and at school, and give them proper direction so that they may learn of your wondrous birth. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Let us stand and follow the directions of the ushers. bow tonight, most gracious eternal Father God in Christ our Savior, anointed of your Holy Spirit. We thank you now for each gift He's given. And as we receive that that's been brought to your storehouse, that we here will be good stewards, continuing to do the work of kingdom building here on this side. We ask that you continue blessing God now. Bless each giver. In the wonderful name of Jesus Christ. Let the church say amen. Amen. Thank you so kindly. And it's my great pleasure and honor this morning to introduce to you our guest speaker this morning. Many of you, he is not a stranger since he is a product of Wyandotte High School. I think, right, I thought y'all were bulldog, right? I was just thinking the other day, I met Judge, he wasn't a judge yet, but I had not been at this church that long, and we got a letter from a young man wanting to meet with the pastor of the church. He was running to be a judge. I read his bio and I told Lou, who was our church secretary at the time, call up this young man and set up an appointment so we could come and visit and meet. Brother Tim came, and I think we were in the fellowship hall, Brother Baker, and we were visiting. And through the conversation, I think my son Ryan came up, and we talked about things going on. But I told him that I would do all I could to give an opportunity to meet the members of our church as he was running to be a judge in Wyandotte County. Amen? Amen. This brother is true. His beautiful bride is here. I'll allow him to do the introductions so that he won't get in trouble. But we visited, and he came, and I was so honored when he called me after he won the election and asked that I would come over and offer a word of prayer when he was installed as judge in this county. Amen? He's a man of God. He is a man of God. No question about that. He loves the Lord. Jesus is all in him. I can't wait to hear him preach. And I pray that none of y'all find yourself in his courtroom only as a spectator. Amen? Amen. But his brother Mark, as you know now, our district attorney, and doing a great job. And I am so honored to have been able to be part of this gentleman's life and to call him a friend. He'll take my phone call. And when someone will take your phone call and not sound just grunted when they say hello, that's a good sign. I'm so honored that he accepted our invitation. After these things, the next voice you would hear would be that of, I'm going to put all the good Baptist stuff on, the Reverend Dr. the Most High. Pastor, Minister, Reverend, Judge Timothy Dupree. Raise your right hand on church walk and say, Pastor Dupree, preach the word. Pastor Dupree, preach the word. Bless us, family.
So, Pastor asked me to do something. First of all, upbeat. Second of all, asked me to do something in light of the Charlottesville terrorist attack. How can you do something in light of an attack? So, I reflected, and the song that came was a song that I haven't done in a very long time, so if I mess up the lyrics, I'm sorry. But it was the song that spoke to me. Tragedies are commonplace. All kinds of diseases, people are slipping away. The economy's down, people don't get enough pay. But as for me, all I can say is thank you, Lord, for all you've done for me. Folks without homes, people are on the streets, and the drug
anyone thankful? Is anyone thankful this morning? We've been doing a lot of talking and giving a lot of accolades, but is anyone here thankful for all God has done for you? And why don't you all over the middle just stand to your feet, put your hands together, and give our God a great big praise. Come on, why don't you clap your hands, open up your mouth, and tell the Lord, thank you. Thank you for all you've done for me. I should have been dead. I should have been in my grave. But thank you, God. I know this is an educational service. But last I heard, we were in a church house. Last I heard, we came to worship God on this morning. So did we come to worship God, or did we come to worship each other? If we came to worship God, then why don't you open up your mouth and give God some worship? Open up your mouth and give God some praise. Hallelujah! Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your tender mercy. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Hallelujah. You can have your seat. Hallelujah. I know what we're here for. I know what we're here for, but if it hadn't been for the goodness of Jesus, if it hadn't been for the blood of Jesus, none of us would be here right now. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I give honor to everyone that's present. We're in the house of God, and when we come to the house of God, we come to worship. Hallelujah. Let me get my composure. Hallelujah. Because sometimes it's like fire shut up in your bones. Sister Lee, you did a wonderful job. Wonderful job. Wonderful job. God bless you. God bless you. God bless my beautiful wife. I'm just going to mention you right now. You're just such a giver, just a worker. Got up and went and played the organ for her to help out. Bless you. Bless you. Whatever your hands find to do, just do it. This isn't her home church, but you know what? Whatever you find your hands to do, just do it. There's a piece of paper in the floor, and I saw 15 people walk past. Looked down and never picked it up. Not here. This was somebody somewhere else. It's not my job. Where's the janitor at? Pick the piece of paper up off the floor. All right. Anyway. Praise God. We thank God for being here. I am delighted. I am happy to be here this morning. I am coming to you, bringing greetings from my pastor, Pastor Alvin Dupree, who is my senior pastor, happens to be my father. And we just thank God for being here. Thank God for the great Pastor Rowan. Give Pastor Rowan a great hand. Pastor Rowan reminds me of my father. He reminds me of my daddy. He's so humble and just such humility. Just awesome. Dr. Lane. Give Dr. Lane a great big hand. The other wonderful young lady on the podium with us, God bless you. Thank you for being here. And everyone else, thank God for all of you being here. I am delighted to be here. I'm looking out and I'm seeing some people already kind of dozing off, so I'm going to try to expedite. Preach. Let me see here. Somebody said preach. The church folks said preach. The other folks said hurry up. Again, I just thank God for my lovely wife, Sister Tamara, the love of my life. The Bible says the man that finds a wife finds a good thing. I was given by God a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I thank you. I love you and I appreciate you. Amen. Expanding your horizon is the theme. Expanding your horizon. Now, I was looking at that. I was like, I understand expanding your horizon. But then I was like, horizon, what does that mean? We use that word frequently, but sometimes I think we don't necessarily understand what it means. And so I looked up the word horizon. Horizon means range of perception or range of experience. And so I guess the thing would be expanding your range of perception or range of experience.
And I want you to understand, Dr. Rowan introduced me as judge and reverend and this and that. I want you to understand who's preaching to you today. This isn't Judge Dupree talking to you. This isn't necessarily whoever else. This is a son of God speaking to the people of God. First and foremost, before I'm anything, I'm a child of God. Let me tell you a story real quick. There was a king. This king, he had 2 servants. He gave one servant a blank check. He said, here, servant, take this check. Write it out for whatever you want to write it out for. The servant took the check. He said, are you serious, king? The king said, I'm very serious. Write it out for whatever you want. Took the check, went back home, talked to his wife. They all got together and they looked and they figured out what they would write on that check. And they wrote out a check for like $100 million and took it back to the king. And the king cashed it. Said, here you go. Gave the other servant the check and said, here's a check for you. You do the same. Now, he was aware of what the other servant did. But he took his check. Didn't take him no time at all. He simply took the check, gave it back to the king, said, king, why don't you write it out for whatever you want it to be for me? King said, that was quick, that was easy. I'm giving you the entire kingdom. I'm giving you the entire kingdom. I premise that on this. I have 2 sermons prepared to preach today. 2. I give you a choice. It's a vote. I can give you a sermon that has really good advice. And it'll be beneficial. It really will. Like that $100 million. Or I can give you a sermon that has God's advice. Now, I'll tell you this. The sermon that has really good advice is going to take a little longer than the sermon that has God's advice. So, all in favor of the sermon that says God's advice, raise your hand. All that wants the sermon that is good advice, raise your hand. Nobody. Good, I'll give you the God advice sermon. And I say that very seriously because this is an educational service. And I've listened and I've watched, and we have a lot of educators. And I can talk to you about a lot of things, about a lot of educational things that will benefit you. I'll mention a few. But the primary point and the primary advice I want to give you is what God said. So the scriptures for today, Philippians 3, verses 13 through 14. I'm going to look at my wife and sweetheart in about 20 minutes. You give me that eye like... Philippians 3:13, it reads, brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended. But this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before. And he goes on to say, I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Let's talk about this a little bit. I count not myself to have apprehended. In other words, apprehend means to lay hands on, to take hold of, to basically to arrest something. And so he said, I count not myself to have apprehended. I count not myself to have reached perfection. I count not myself to have attained all the greatness that one can apprehend. You see, Paul was a very, very intelligent man. Paul spoke several languages. Paul was a Pharisee, and he was one of the greatest leaders during that time. He was more familiar with the Jewish laws and the laws of God than most people of his day and age. Paul, he was called by Christ to be an apostle. On the road to Damascus, he had an encounter with God. And he was called to be an apostle, and he started preaching not only to the Jews, but he also started preaching to the Gentiles. And so he was a very mighty man of God, not only spiritually, but even on the natural sense. But yet he said that I count not myself to have apprehended. I count not myself to have all the knowledge and all the understanding. The importance of that is this: young people, old people, middle-aged people, and people like me. One of the things that we can learn is no matter where you get in your life, you haven't arrived. You may be Dr. Reverend, what else you call me? Dr. Reverend, Most High, whoever, but guess what? I haven't arrived.
All right.
Nor have you. And so Paul recognized that, listen, as long as I'm in this carnal body, there is still something that these great educators can teach me.
Yes, sir.
You're not so smart that no one can teach you something. You're not so intelligent that someone... My mother, God bless her heart, before she passed away, my mother had a high school. Actually, she had a GED. That was the extent of my mother's education. But I tell you what, in the game of Scrabble, not me, not my brother, not my cousins, not my sister, none of us can outplay her or spell her in Scrabble. In an argument, I'm an attorney, my brother's an attorney, my cousin's an attorney, my sister-in-law's an attorney. But in an argument, there was no one that was going to be more logical and rational and out-argue her.
All right.
In living a life of godliness, no one was going to outlive her.
All right.
And so it doesn't matter what your title is and what education you have. And I know this is an educational, day, and so I don't want to down on education. But your education really doesn't matter if you don't have God. He said, I count not myself to have apprehended. All right? And then it says, this one thing I do. In other words, he said, since I haven't apprehended everything, since I don't know everything, there's one thing that I'm going to do.
All right.
And the one thing that Paul was determined to do was to apprehend. In other words, he was determined to grasp hold of the most important thing. All right? Let me tell you how he determined to do it.
Yep.
He said, this is what I'm going to do. Because understand what Paul recognized. He said that in the pursuit of apprehending, in the pursuit of becoming great, he said there was something that had to be done. So what we can learn from that is, listen, if you do desire to be great, if you desire to have whatever it is, you're going to have to do something.
Yeah. Hey.
I've never in my life seen a day and time where people want stuff, but they don't want to do anything.
Hey.
They want an A in class, but they don't want to do the homework. They want a $20 an hour job, but they don't even want to apply for the job. How can you get a job and you don't even fill out the application? And Paul recognized that in order to get something, I have to do something. Can I get an amen?
Yes.
I've never seen it in court. I see it all the time. At home, with my lazy, well, God bless my kids. Some of my kids, they want an allowance. But every time I walk into that bedroom, my kids at our church, I can talk about it. But people want something for free. But let me tell you, if you want to achieve, if you want to be successful, you are going to have to get off your hump and you're going to have to do something. Now, depending on what you want, that's what dictates how much you're going to have to do. If you don't want much, then fine, don't do much. If you want a little more, then do a little more. But if you want to be like Paul and others, and you want greatness, and you want to apprehend, then you're going to have to little bit of that.
Talk. Yes, sir.
And one of the things Paul said that he has to do that. He says that in order to apprehend, in order to gain the greatness that I desire, I have to forget. I have to forget about those things which are behind me. Sometimes in our life we have to forget about those things which are behind you. You have to forget about the past mistakes that you made sometimes. Yeah, you messed up, you fell down, you were down on your luck, that business failed, whatever it was last year, you got an F in math, that's okay. We're going to forget about those things which are behind us.
Yes, sir. Come on, man.
I understand. This is one of the biggest things that I hear. Your mother was a nobody. Your father was a nobody. So you're going to be a nobody. Sometimes not only do we have to forget about our past, sometimes we have to forget about the past of our mama, our daddy, and other people. Paul said, I am forgetting about those things. I'm not even going to remember. I'm going to put them behind. Because the devil has the goal to make you feel like you're a loser and you're nobody. Listen, just because I was a loser yesterday, that was yesterday. Today I am a winner. Today I am more than a conqueror. But you have an adversary, the devil, he's going to remind you about yesterday. He's going to remind you that you weren't successful in math last year. He's going to remind you that you wasn't successful in English last year. He's going to remind you. But you have to be like Paul if you want to apprehend. You have to put that stuff behind you and say, that was last year. I didn't pay attention last year. I didn't apply myself last year. I didn't take the steps that were necessary to reach the goals that I had in mind last year or even yesterday. So I'm putting that behind. I'm going to give another little thing that we sometimes need to put behind us. Sometimes we need to forget about our successes. Yesterday.
Yeah. Say that.
True story.
Say it.
I had someone come to me, 45-year-old man, came to me. And it could have been a woman, but it was a man. Judge Dupree. Yes, sir. How you doing, young man? Old man, whatever 45-year-old is. Young man. The kid's like old man. Young man. I'm 42, 41, somewhere in there. Young man. And he said, guess what? I know you're a judge and everything, but guess what I did? I said, what you do? He said, when I was in high school, I was the high school prom king, and I was the head football star. I said, now when did you graduate? He said, 1992. I said, so what you doing now? Well, I'm just saying. If the only thing that you have to live on, the only thing you have to motivate you is what you did last year, yesterday, last month, sometimes you have to recognize that, listen, the past is the past. I was successful yesterday. That's wonderful. That's great. Use that as a motivation to bump you to do better. Don't just sit and ride out on your past yesterday's victory. We have the class of 1962. Praise the Lord. But let me tell you about the class of 1962. They're not just riding to get out on their graduation from 1962. This class is still doing things in the community. They are still helping people. They are still going forward and reaching greater heights. They're not just relying on the fact that they were active during the civil rights movement. They're not just relying on the fact of what they did back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They're doing stuff now. Sometimes we have to forget about that stuff. Because if you rely too much on your past successes, you become complacent. Become content. I don't know about you, but God is not through with me yet. And so he says, so I'm forgetting about those things which are behind, and this is what he says. This is the most important part. This is the God advice part. I press toward the mark of the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. What Paul was saying is, listen, education is good. Having all the different positions are great. Being called doctor this, doctor that, minister this, minister that, elder this, judge this, whoever, whatever. All of that is wonderful. But the prize is not to have a title. The prize that Paul was seeking was to have Christ. The ultimate goal in Paul's life was to apprehend Christ. Let me try to explain it to you. Matthew 6, 30 through 33, and I really am about to finish up here. Wherefore, if God so clothe the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or wherewith shall we be clothed? For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knoweth that ye have need of all these things. You see, I'm going to be honest with you now. I'm really a little bit embarrassed. I didn't know anything about what took place yesterday. Yesterday I was extremely busy, here, there, ripping, running, and I hardly watch any news and all that stuff. I don't have social media. So I wasn't aware about anything that took place. Found out this morning, they were back in the meeting room, we were talking and we were praying, and they said, yeah, you know, I might mention something about yesterday, and I'm sitting there feeling stupid. All right, what happened yesterday? And then someone said, that's my question too. Well, good, high five to whoever it is. I don't just know that. Everybody that didn't know about yesterday, give me a high five. There's only good, about 8 of us. Dr. Lane, she whispered to me, I asked her, I said, Dr. Lane, what happened yesterday? And she told me what happened. In my heart, just kind of sank. Like, But then the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me and said, but the message that I gave to you this morning, because I told you I had 2 messages, right? I had a message that I prepared about 3 days, 4 days, 5 days ago, and then I had a message that God gave me about 6 o'clock this morning when I was on my knees praying. And he said, so the message that I gave you this morning is right on time. He said, because the racism, the bigotry, and all of this stuff, and how we're going to get rid of it, God said, listen, those are the things that everybody wants to know about. How to rid this community of it. How to be successful in life. How to make sure that our children have what they need. How to just live a life of peace. How to live in peace. How to live in prosperity. And the Lord told me, he said, the message that I gave you this morning is right on point. Even though you didn't know it was on point. It's on point. And what's the message? It says here. He says, listen, everything that you have need of, everything that we have need of, God is aware of it. And that's why he says in verse 33, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. You see, we're seeking other people's righteousness. We're seeking the judge's righteousness. We're seeking the governor's righteousness. We're seeking the president's righteousness. But God said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and God's righteousness. And all these things shall be added unto you. position first. And all of that is good. I told you I had some good advice. I could have preached just on that. But God said, if you want to be successful, young people, if you want to be successful, if you want to be the next Dr. Lane, if you want to be the next Pastor Rowan, if you want to be the next Judge Dupree, if you would seek ye first the kingdom of God, and if you would seek ye first his righteousness, then all of these other things will be added. See, some people look at me and say, oh, you're Judge Dupree. Yeah, I'm Judge Dupree. But before I ever became a Judge Dupree, I was a lost man, lost in my sin. I was out there trying to be a little hoodlum. I was out there trying to be a little thug. But thank God for the blood. And after the blood got a hold of me, and after I apprehended the blood of Jesus, and I accepted Christ as my Savior, then all of the other things that were added unto me, the Lord told me to go back to school. The Lord provided me the means to get to school. The Lord told me to go to KU. I had people telling me don't even bother. I had people telling me I wasn't going to succeed. But I sought first the kingdom of God. I sought first God's righteousness. I said, if God be for me, I don't care if President Trump is against me. Because greater is he that is within me than he that is in the whole world. So as I conclude today, if you want to reach greatness, if you want to be somebody, grab hold to Jesus. If you want to reach success, you get on your knees. You start praying. You start reading the Bible. You start denying yourself. Get to know God. Accept Christ as your personal Savior. And all these other things, all these other things will be added unto you. Give the Lord a great big hand. Is there anybody here that says, I am determined that I'm going to reach greatness? I'm determined to become a doctor. I'm determined to become a lawyer. I'm determined to become a teacher. But most of all, I'm determined to seek first the kingdom of God. Is that you? Is that you? Is that you? Young people, look at the young people. I'm talking to you. I want you to do me a favor. Say, I am determined that I will reach greatness. I won't allow nobody, not even myself, to deny me of success. And I want you to tell your neighbor, say, now let me tell you why. Because I am determined from this day forward that I'm going to seek first the kingdom of God and God's righteousness. And then all of those other things will be added unto me. Some of you old folks need to take the same road, because some of you haven't reached the goals that you desire. Some of you are 60 years old. God told you a long time ago to start the business. God told you a long time ago to pursue this career, but you haven't been seeking first the kingdom of God. And God said, listen, I have no respect of persons. All right? It doesn't matter if God told you to do it 20 years ago. God said, if you start seeking first the kingdom of God, and if you start seeking first his righteousness, some of the things that you have desires will come to pass as well. Give God a hand.